Is your fitness routine actually destroying your mental health? Are your attempts to address something in your physical body having such a detrimental effect on your emotional well-being, on your ability to be in healthy relationships, that it's actually counterproductive? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Jessica Johns Green. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I work with people who are struggling with body issues, including eating disorders. I work with trauma, relationships, and other mood problems. And let's talk about how your very well-intentioned efforts to be physically healthy, to have a level of physical fitness, might be destroying your mental health. When I say something like that, our minds might immediately go to eating disorders and some very extreme sort of images that we might carry in our heads of what it looks like for someone to be trying to fix themselves emotionally with extreme physical actions like very much restricting food or over exercising. And although those are really real things that happen to people, the reality is that problematic relationships with food and with physical activity spans much of our Western culture. Chances are, if you have been to a health club, if you've been to a gym, if you've been to a yoga class, you've been to CrossFit, you are with a high percentage of people that are struggling with their mental health and trying to address that consciously or unconsciously through what they are doing physically. So let's think about some of the ways that this happens, what it might look like, what it might feel like, and how you can deal with it. I'm just going to talk about 3 basic ways right here. There might be many more. And of course, I would love to hear from you in the comments. Talk to me about what you're going through. Talk to me about people that you have run into. And, if there's other subjects that we can cover on this, absolutely, let's dig in. Let me know in the comments. One of the first ways that really raises a red flag for me is when I see very extreme on and off behavior. So we've just hit the new year, and gyms, weight loss centers, people starting a new diet of some kind, cutting out food groups, doing all kinds of things to improve their physical health has been obviously at a all-time high beginning in the new year. What happens come February 1st? Does it all stop? Are you one of these on and off people? Do you kind of exist in the extremes? Either I am exercising constantly, even maybe too much, and then when I fall off the wagon, it's not at all. Am I sort of on a diet and then off of a diet, and does it flow in extremes? These are signs that are not only detrimental to your physical health, but also have a seriously negative effect on your psychological, your emotional well-being. What's happening there? Well, on one level, there's the effects of feeling like a failure. So oftentimes when we have this sort of all or nothing, very extreme approach to health and wellness, we can get onto some kind of extreme plan, which probably is too much to do. We should have had a smaller goal, a much more gradual something that is more based around, sustainable behaviors that we can keep doing for a long time, rather than, oh, I'm just never going to eat sugar again, or I'm always going to work out 5 days a week. This is probably too much, especially if we're going from, one kind of diet to another, or from no exercise to lots of exercise. So when that doesn't work out, we can be very down on ourselves. Oh, look, I failed again, or it's impossible, that kind of thing. The other issue is that when we fall off of that wagon, we stop looking at our behavior, our choices, and it's almost like, well, I'm off now, so I'll just do whatever. And obviously, that's when really, quote unquote unhealthy things, both physically and mentally, can happen. We might be drinking more. We might not be treating our bodies well. We might not be sleeping that well. We might not be drinking that much water. Things that are really nothing to do with weight or size, but are still having a negative impact on how we feel. Just like, for example, getting enough food in our body, the right amount, getting the right amount of sleep and the right amount of water has a huge impact on how we deal with anxiety, how we deal with things that are overwhelming or sad. So, anxiety is going to come, anxiety is going to go. There's going to be things in your week, in your day, in your year that are going to worry you. And if your body is in a sort of stable state, you're much better prepared to deal with that. If it's really up and down, I eat a lot, I don't eat a lot, I exercise a lot, I don't exercise at all, sleeping, not sleeping, water, no water, it's your body's going to have a much tougher time in dealing with those emotional upheavals. The second way that I would bring up is I almost want to call it dysmorphia, but sometimes it's not even dysmorphia, it's just an over focus on the physical. We live, I'm going to sound really old now, but we live in this age and time where more than ever before, we are just surrounded by images. Not many of these are realistic, let alone maybe real. Could be the effects of clever angles, of Photoshop, of surgery, could be AI, goodness knows, and even when they are, real images, we often don't have an accurate picture of how a person came to look that way or whether they are actually healthy or happy. So, a lot of our fitness influencers that we see out there, could be on, some kind of helpful substances, so to speak, to help their physiques look that way. It's hard to know what is realistic and what isn't. And so when I talk about body dysmorphia, this is the issue that we have when we look in the mirror and we either don't have an accurate perception of ourselves, or we're telling ourselves, I cannot accept myself unless I can change this or that, or unless I can have this or that. These are very unhelpful ideas for our mental health because, your body is just not going to play by those rules. Everybody's body is changing all the time. Everybody's going to be getting a little bit older every day. And things are going to fluctuate. Weight is going to go up, weight is going to go down. What we are doing when we're in that body dysmorphic mindset is we are trying to solve an emotional problem, a relational problem, a psychological problem with a physical answer. Most of the time when we dig down into these very extreme ideas about body, I need my body to look this way, or I can't accept my body as it is. It's never going to be big enough. It's never going to be skinny enough. It's never going to be muscly enough. Whatever. It's never going to have a big enough butt or big enough breasts, or whatever it is that we are telling ourselves. Normally, when we dig down into those beliefs with clients, what we find is that the root of them is a very strong belief that, well, if I did look this way, then this particular problem would be solved. And often the problem that's going to be solved is that I will be accepted, I will be loved, I will feel easier in life, I won't have the same kind of worries or problems, I'll be able to walk into a room and no one judges me. It's understandable where these beliefs come from, and yet the beliefs themselves are unrealistic and very problematic. No matter what you look like, there are going to be uncertainties, worries, insecurities to deal with. And a much healthier, sustainable way to deal with these is, yes, to treat your body well, right? Your nervous system is housed within this body. It needs to eat well, it needs to sleep well, it needs to function well, but also to look at those fears head on and say, okay, yeah, I am worried about finding people that love me, finding people that will accept me. I am worried about the judgment from others, and working our way through those much more painful, uneasy things. It feels like an easier answer to say, well, I'll just fix this and then it'll be fine. In reality, it's not. And that's how we get some of us out there get onto this track of like, oh, okay, I thought I would be happier when I, say, for example, got a six pack, and now there's the next thing. Oh, it's not enough, I need more, right? We get onto that track because it doesn't actually solve the underlying concern, which is normally much more psychological, emotional, or relationally based. The third way that I would bring up is, when there's sort of a lack of other viable options. So, sometimes we get into very extreme forms of exercise. Some people can be very dedicated in their work. A lot of times even athletes as well can train very, very hard. And, there's good payoffs to that. But when we look around and there is a lack of other viable options to self-care, there's very little feel good that we get from other areas of our lives. And then we are in a danger zone, because you do get a high, you do get a good feeling from moving your body, or for maybe even exerting control over certain things that you eat or don't eat. However, we thrive well when there's balance. Mental health comes with balance. So if the only feel good that is available to us is, hey, I worked out today, or hey, I hit this new PR on my lift, or I was able to do such and such that I never did before, or I stuck to my macros or my eating plan for this week. If that is the only feel good we get, you got to have an alarm bell ringing, and it is time to start looking at your life and asking why that is the only source of feel good, and what you can do to include more things in your life that can give you a nice feeling, whether that's a safe feeling, a contained feeling. If you're very used to having exercise, fitness, wellness be your only source of feeling good, it can feel very scary and unsettling to start looking for that outside. Because normally, even if you are, say, a really dedicated yoga class attendee, and that's the only place that you feel good, it is at least predictable. You go, you do your thing, you leave feeling a certain way. But we need, for mental health, we need to be able to create a sense of ease, a sense of feeling safe, feeling good in lots of different areas of our lives. We need to be able to create that in the midst of having a conflict with family or with our partner, with a sense of worry or unease about what's going to happen with our job. We need to be able to somehow access that form of feel good outside of, say, diet control or exercise. So those are just three little ways. There are lots more, and I would love to hear about it. I would love to hear from you. Go ahead and drop some comments down there. Maybe give this video a like. If you want to follow, gosh, I would be so honored. Until next time, take care of yourself. Be well.